What up, family? This is Dave. This is a special episode of Let's Rap. We're usually in the studio. Today, I'm here with a really good friend of mine. Her name is Asia Jackson. We're actually shooting today in her shop at her house, and I'm truly grateful for this relationship. Her children went to school with my children at Glenn before they left, and she has been doing myself, my wife's, my kids' hair for a number of years, and we've just really enjoyed a relationship with her. She's a veteran. She spent time in the Navy. She's a certified doula. She's a jewelry maker, an artist, a mother, a black woman. And for me, I see her as a leader and an activist in Durham, in the community. And a lot of, again, this show is all about removing the stereotypes, the stigmas, removing the barriers, and uniting us as one people. And so Asia's one for me that I feel like has been a prophetess in my life. And just this chair, this space has spoken healing to myself, to my family. And so I wanted to do this special episode in this first season to kind of bring y'all into a space that I've learned from, a space that I've grown in, a space that my wife enjoys, that my kids have enjoyed, because this is us. And so, Asia, thank you so much for letting us in today. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excellent. Good. Amazing.
That's good. That's good. So we usually kick off the show. First question we always get into is what in this world, right at this moment, has you most gripped?
How black men are, really the plight of black men, and black women, but black men because I'm raising two black men that I fear, I have more fears about than I would my daughter, and it really gives me nightmares, like legit nightmares. So that's what worries me the most. That's what I'm concerned about the most, I guess, if I had to choose or, rank them in any order out of everything that I'm worried about. Is raising my black men because they're so kind, they're sweet gentlemen, I don't want them to be taken advantage of, and they definitely don't deserve to be shot.
Absolutely not.
And it's not just our black men are dying, our young children are dying through gun violence, especially in Durham, I know, so it worries me.
No, that's real, Asia. This is a particularly tough time because being in the middle of a pandemic, one of the things that I realize is that what I feel like is special about you is really seeing your children's gifting and seeing their learning styles and seeing their capacity and genius and really making that decision to say, I can do it better than DPS. Right. And that's a courageous space to be, a statement to make, and one that I know is lonely, right? And just pulling away from a system that we know is not meant for us, but yet so many people are still there. And so, our families has had that time outside of the space and so we start with your boys and your daughter. Like, what has that been like? That journey out of DPS. I know has this been 3 or 4 years, or?
This is our third year
out. So how has that been? Take the listeners, the viewers into it for you homeschooling, and that journey of like conviction. What made you feel like I need to do this, and then even doing that up until now?
I felt like what really pushed me to do it was my oldest son, who to me is like a genius. He's like, he has so many wonderful things about him, and his mind is very intricate. And they told me that they were going to put him on an IEP and have him in a special education class for, I believe they said 30% of the day, and for reading, because they said he wasn't on the reading level that he was supposed to be on. By that time, I was pretty much fed up with the school system as a whole. I felt that they were missing so much that I could give them. I didn't know how hard it was going to be. But I felt like when they were in traditional school, like they're missing so much. And I'm teaching them anyway. Like I'm when they're home, I'm teaching them. I was their first teacher before they went to kindergarten.
Absolutely.
You know, they went to kindergarten prepared and able to spell their names and do all the things that they would teach you in kindergarten. Because I taught them way beforehand, from the womb, really, reading to them and talking to them about the importance of their names, what I had named them and stuff like that. I started speaking to them from the womb like that. So they were just well-rounded individuals before kindergarten, really. So I don't know, maybe it was arrogance in a way. I just felt like, hey, I'm the best teacher they can have. Like, I'm very intelligent. You know, I'm qualified. You know, I know their learning styles. I know what helps them. I know what they respond to, you know. I know their gifts. And some gifts I don't know, but I know how to help them explore their gifts too. And I think that's really, really important, like exploring your gifts now and to continue on exploring your gifts throughout life. I think that's important to learn.
Absolutely.
I just learned how to explore my gifts, and I feel like I've just started to live the life I'm supposed to live.
Wow.
And I don't want them to be in their 30s like, oh, I didn't know that I was this powerful. I didn't know that I was this creative. I didn't know that I was this amazing, you know?
Yeah. So, I appreciate
to do that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, because it feels like that part of the Black experience here in Durham and across cities across America is like this having to ask for permission to be. And so you really touched on it, like you were done asking for permission to educate. And here we are, all of us are educating our kids to some degree or another, but the system would make us believe that we're not qualified. And so I feel like one of the messages that we have to really establish today, like just in this moment, is like, you are Black parent in Durham, you are fully qualified to educate, inspire, engage, lead, love your children. You don't need permission to do that. And so for those that not to really pit those in and out, but say that those that are in the system should be aware that they can fully engage in supporting their child navigating that, right? And so if anything, we should be leaning in, realizing that they have to go to a war zone every day, a place that you know, teachers don't understand the Black experience, they don't understand Black culture, they don't understand the dynamics, the dimensions of how people were raised, the trauma, abuse that we can deal with more compassion and more love than the system can. And so I think that's a struggle, but I think one of the things that we need to kind of deal with is like taking away the veil. And so it shouldn't be those that are outside and those that are inside. It's like, this is my sister here. We were outside, we came back in for a reason, but you outside, and your kids are my kids. And so the unity there and the belief system of what we're doing, to me, those lines don't exist. But I feel like it is like, all right, if you're in the system, you're somehow judged based on your adaptation, right?
Absolutely. So judged.
Take me into that, because I think this is the lie. This is the lie that we tell ourselves about people assimilating or choosing not to. And that's a choice that we should make, but we shouldn't demonize each other. So, and I know that was painful for you. So give us a snapshot of what you're willing to share there, and just what that was like to leave something that you and all your friends and family and everyone, we all just kind of came up in. So it's abnormal to reject that, a school system, right? So give us a glimpse into what that felt like.
Well, the first judgment that I received was from his teacher when I told my son's teacher that instead of going along with the plan that they wanted to for my son, that I was going to homeschool him. And she looked at me like, excuse me? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm gonna homeschool him, and this is, I know that my son, does not need to be under that type of plan or separated from a normal class. He's really intelligent. I don't know what y'all missing, but it's like really obvious. And I'm not one of the type of parents that's like, my son can do no wrong or nothing like that. Like, nah, I just see them for who they are, and that's the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever the case may be. I can see them for who they are. And I'm like, I just couldn't let someone tell me something about a person that I have been around his entire life, and I just, like I said, I can be very objective and, look at things and see myself in situations, but be outside of that situation and just kind of observe it and just kind of figure out, what's right and what's wrong. Just, just have an objective point of view about things. So I just knew in my heart that it was just best for me to take him out of the school system. And as I was telling her, I understand that you guys get paid more when you have a child in special education. And she looked at me and I started telling her these things that I knew about the education system.
Because you had done your homework.
Right. Yeah, because I had done my homework. And she was looking at me like, oh, okay, she done some research and, yeah, she was like, she really felt uncomfortable with that. And, I wasn't speaking to her in an angry way or nothing, but you could tell I was like really ruffling her feathers. So
just by basically saying, as a black mother, I have the right to. So again, it's like, what's up, guy?
Come here.
What's up, man? This is chosen. This is chosen. The man of the hour. Young Jackson.
No, you don't have to open it up. You can just set it right there, sweetheart. Thank you.
See, this is one of the blessings of setting up, making your money with your babies.
That's right.
And so again, this is why I wanted to set up here, because it's rare. And this is the thing about how we live. The lie, again, we're talking about these things that don't speak to us, is that we have to abandon our roles and our responsibilities to go off here, and we've talked about that a lot, to go off and disappear for 20 years to make a living. And so, and that's why I say what you're doing is courageous, because you're fully a mother, fully an educator, fully a businesswoman, fully a black woman, right? You're doing all these things, showing up in a way that does give you the opportunity to be consistent. And I think it just defies the norms of what we're told we have to do. And so,
absolutely.
So let's keep going with that theme. So
I still get like judgment from family, and it's heavy. Like they say things like, and my children. You've seen my children. You've seen what they do. They've done a pop-up show and run their own business and stuff and make their own products and count their own money, save their own money, invest their own money back into their business, and they have they're developing the knowledge of these concepts as well, because I'm equipping them with the knowledge of it. So because I don't go by a particular curriculum, and in North Carolina you don't have to go by the Board of Education's curriculum when you homeschool your children.
That's right.
You can devise your own curriculum, or you can unschool, as they call it, or you can really teach your children the way that you would like to teach them. But my family has had a big problem with the way I teach my children. It's hard for them to accept it, even with the evidence that they are well-rounded, smart children. They play instruments, they know their multiplication tables, they know division, but they can also talk to you about business, about compound interest, about things that no 8 or 10-year-old usually is going to know.
Right.
But it's what we need to know and what we're supposed to be teaching our children if we want them to have a wealth mindset. And but you know, a lot of people have issues with it because it's not what they're used to. They've never done it. So you know, but so it is what it is. I don't really care.
Nor should you.
Yeah, I don't even care. If I cared, I would have been put them back into traditional school.
There you go. Yeah.
And I wasn't like the absolute best homeschool teacher when I first started. I had to learn things.
Sure.
I had to learn how to make time and where to put that time in. Even though I'm here in the home, I still work a lot. You know, I be busy.
Yeah.
But homeschool, that's like a job too.
Yeah.
So I had to learn like how to do that and fit that into our lifestyle, and it works very, very well. And now look at the country, like everybody trying to be on it now.
now they coming to you.
Everybody trying to be on it.
What up? What up though?
Everybody trying to be on it.
I need
Ain't
that.
nobody kid going to school now, you know?
Yeah. I know. You put this out like early in the pandemic. Listen, y'all. On the social media waves, like you had to let folks know, like, hey, listen, y'all.
I've been on this.
Yeah, like, I've been here, like, which I love because it's like, yeah, this is.
Now I have to make the distinction. I wasn't even making that distinction before this pandemic hit. Like a lot of people didn't know that I homeschool my children.
Right.
But like with the pandemic, and I would say something. If I speak about homeschool or something, I have to specify I was on this before the pandemic. This is pre-pandemic.
Yeah. And it's important. That's why I said this.
It is important.
This moment is important to understand.
It is important.
Yeah. Because for a while, the community, the black community, is who this audience that we're speaking to is divided in that, right?
Yes.
And you just kind of disregard people that don't adapt.
Yes.
And then that's one of the issues that we have that stops us from unifying. So along those lines, give us Durham then and now, as in like growing up in Durham, being, you know, in your teens, being in your 20s, in Durham, what it was versus what the Durham you see now. And I'll tell you why this question is critical. And I ask people that, especially people that went to high school, middle school, elementary school, any of those grades in Durham, is because there's a lot of assumptions about what Durham is. And there's a lot of people that are new to the scene that just got to Durham, you know, in the last couple of years. Even people that have been in Durham the last 5 years, you haven't heard enough stories to make some of the assumptions that you are. And so Durham for me is 110,000 black people that have had a lot of division and tearing and pulling and assumptions and power and white supremacy and impacts of redlining and impacts of gentrification, police brutality, and so the list goes on and goes on. But all of that has left us kind of with rebels, right? If you look back into the 90s and 80s, and so I think individuals like yourself, again, have stories and you have perspectives that New Durham needs to hear, downtown Durham needs to hear, you know, policymakers need to hear, people in positions with letters behind their name need to hear, you know, or even just other black people. It's like, because we kind of have to learn to hear each other to feel each other.
Yeah.
And so give us a then and now, like what Durham was like growing up versus what you feel like it is now.
I would say the biggest difference for me that affects my family and most children, especially around this neighborhood, because it's hood, you know what I'm saying? The biggest difference is the after school programs. There are none really now. It used to be lit with free stuff to do for the kids after school. during the summer. My mom depended on that to find some place for me to go when she had to work and I was out for the summer. Either I would go to my grandmom's, but sometimes she would find a program for me to be involved in, and it didn't seem that hard. Now, I was a kid.
Okay.
So, our perspectives are different. Yeah. But I remember her saying, oh, you can do this for free, you can do that for free. We got to go down here and fill out this paper and, boom, you're in type of thing. It was a lot of that available and just, back then they were bigger on giving you the information instead of you having to ask or seek out the information yourself. They were, if you went to, took your child to like a pediatrician appointment at Lincoln or something like that, they would make sure you had resources before you left. And that's a big difference too. Now, you have to hear from word of mouth or...
You gotta dig and find it.
You gotta dig and find it, yeah. And I think, what was my train of thought?
Talking about the
you have to look for it, but like our community really we're supposed to be giving our community these resources. That's right. That's how you really help somebody and pull people up from where they are. Give them the resources while you hiding it, and they saving money really, and putting it towards other things because people are not really taking advantage of the resources, and then they're cutting some of them off, like, oh, nobody came to that, nobody came to this meeting, or nobody came to this mental health conference or such and such. We didn't know. Nobody told us about this. You know what I'm saying? So you really, really have to be like on it if you really want to find different programs and stuff like that. You have to be on it, and that's not so much a bad thing. It's good to be proactive. Yeah. But for the people that do not have the proactivity in them, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on now, how are we going to help our young kids if you don't give them the information? They used to send us to school with the information. I remember my teachers, they would call you, they would call the parents. Did you see this? Did you fill this out? Because this is going to be free, and we really want to get her into it. Like, they were really like on it. So teachers cared. They really cared about us. And I missed that. Yeah. I missed that. I went to a school where we would get our butts beat if we ain't listened. Yeah. I went to W.G. Pearson in like the 80s, and they would
put pause on you.
They put pause on. Now look, they had a structured way of doing it.
Okay, right.
So the teachers would use their yardsticks. Right. And the principal had shout out to Miss Battle. I don't know if anybody knows Miss Battle. Okay. Shout out to Miss Battle. She would have a thick paddle that had like a hole in it, like a hole about that size in the middle of the paddle, and it was thick like that right there. Yeah. It had a little white girl on the front with her pants hanging down a little bit. Her booty was red, like she had this.
Painted on it.
I remember what it looked like. It was painted up there. But Miss Battle would put us over her knee and beat our butts with that paddle. Sure did. Sure did. But it kept us in line. Nobody's parents were in an uproar. They weren't abusing us or nothing like that,
So just hearing you describe that scene, it feels like, and everyone, really, you're locking in with like 95% of Durham voices of people that I know that grew up here. Is like the divestment, meaning that the investment in our space for us has decreased. Yeah. And again, assumption is from 2020 to 1998 or to 2012 or to 2017, every year we've gotten better. And so this this is again as part of even a progressive liberal city, all right, we're growing, look at Durham, look at the new
that's what they want the perception.
Exactly. And so again, to the audience, this show is about breaking that down, and we're getting the real. So we're getting the real from Asia Jackson on what Durham was And everyone we get on the show up until now has really said along the same lines, it's been a divestment. And so what you have now is a Durham that has a lot of silos, that has a lot of compartments. Even with technology, you would think our communication would be better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, I've seen DPS, I've seen different organizations put surveys out, and then they get what they get in response. But then I'm like, you don't know the language of the people you're talking to.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are like, they're not actually talking to us. And I've seen events. I've seen events happen. I check in with you. I check in with you. Hey, what you think of that? I don't even know. Nobody I know goes there. And then I know the organizer, like, hey, but weren't you trying to get there? They're like, yeah, no one signed up. I'm like, but they said it wasn't for them. And so again, it's like, there's a disconnect. But a lot of times it goes back to the value that we have for each other. It's not there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not there. So I'm not, people don't care what you got to say.
Yeah.
And if they don't believe that you care about them, right? And so no matter how great information, knowledge, resources, whatever, they're like, well, I ain't fucking with you because you ain't fucking with me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a base level of respect and exchange of that. And so it's created these pockets. So my like lens of looking at the history of Durham is like, in some sense people are like, it's better. In some ways, other ways people are like, nah, this is worse. 'Cause when I was a kid, I could walk right down there and get that. And so it's difficult, right, for a city like Durham that you see is portraying this national energy, and we have this, and we look extremely progressive, but then a lot of old Durham is like, nah, fam, we actually had it better in 96 because so-and-so will actually care enough to engage us in a way that, and so, again, that's something we gotta deal with it as a community.
That's a cultural thing for us more so than just a Durham thing.
It is.
Because I think on a wide scale, people just care less. It seems like, and it's very hurtful to me. It's like the grandparents we have now aren't the grandparents we had when I was growing up. They ain't like my grandparents.
I believe that.
It's a different culture, and people are caring less. Like, I've never seen so many black girls missing before. It's absolutely ridiculous that we don't protect our people. That they can get snatched up like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that we have to worry about. Man, the rape culture is out of damn control. Come on now. Like, come on. Nobody's teaching their sons to keep their hands to themselves. And everybody's blaming it on the women. The way they dressed or the way they spoke or the way they were dancing or, you know what I'm saying? I don't care if you're naked walking in the middle of the street. That does not invite a man to come and take something that it doesn't belong to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep your hands to yourself. Like, why are we not teaching our young men this? You know what I'm saying? Like, the rape culture is crazy. So I think just as a whole, as a society, we are not moving in the right direction when it comes to our spiritual health, our mental health.
I agree.
We got to do better. Our emotional health, we still telling black boys they can't cry.
I agree.
Come on, we got to do better. And then wonder why they grow up hitting women and stuff like that. They got so much aggression. They don't know what to do with it. They never let it go. Never were taught that they could let it go. And that's not cool. We letting our kids down because we just care less. Less and less and less and less. And we see so many things on social media. We're becoming so desensitized, and it's sad, man. It's sad. It's sad.
Asia, so you just said a lot there. I want to get to mental health in our community, which I want to dig into that, more perspective on that. But then I want to get into the spirituality piece, but before we do that, just this last week, you talked about rape culture and with young men and older men and all men and women and that control and that abuse. And so let's talk about this video that just dropped called WAP Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B. And so there is a lot. Again, we were talking earlier, and it's like there's a reason why this video is a discussion right now, and it's sad, it's heartbreaking. But for me as a man, my journey and my learning of dealing with my own abuse, my own damage of my wife, women, and just my fucked up mind around my power, my control, and using that to manipulate or oppress, I've had to deal with. So I'm a contributor. I'm someone that came up in rape culture. I came up in hip hop, but then I also heard voices like Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, women like Erykah Badu that were speaking to correcting that shit.
Yeah.
Like, deal with this. It's a problem. You can't call women bitches, And so I say, let's talk about why. But before you start speaking, I want to admit that just 2 weeks ago, you had 500,000 people logged on to watch DMX and Snoop Dogg in the Versus battle. But then you had 3 million people in total that actually watched it on and off, right? And so, and a lot of celebration, a lot of love, right? Multiple times, DMX, like you were saying earlier, DMX referred to women as bitches, and so nothing, no censorship, no issue with it, no beef. And then so Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B get out and do this video, and it's a conversation. And so, and again, there's a lot of pain and trauma associated with these conversations that I would say are sacred at this point. But take us into this dichotomy that we're seeing right now. And this is really a national conversation, but it's happening in Durham, right? This is across the world. Black women particularly dealing with this double standard. What does that feel like, particularly in this moment when you have these complete opposite responses to these contradictions in hip hop?
It's okay. I be shaking my head first of all.
Take us through. I know it's a long discussion, so yeah, jump in where you want.
I am too.
Yeah.
When I see it on social media, I try to shake my head and just keep going. I stay out the conversation because I'm like, people gonna talk. They gonna talk about what they want to talk about, and my mind is on some other stuff anyway.
Right,
so
right.
I don't be on like, the pop gossip,
Sure.
August Alsina stuff, entanglements and shit.
Right.
I don't do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I'm just focused on some other stuff. So,
Sure.
When I see it, I usually just keep scrolling or whatever, but it's just amazing how people are just, the feathers have been ruffled. And I love it. I love it.
Amazing. Yeah.
I love it because people truly, first of all, you expose yourself and just show like how, yes, you really telling on yourself and showing that you really hate to see when women tell their own story. That's crazy. However the story may be, you don't have to like it.
Right.
You don't have to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Right. It don't have to be the right language, the language that you would prefer. But to have such, your panties in a bunch about this song.
Yeah.
But sat up there and really truly celebrated DMX and Snoop Dogg during that versus battle. Yeah. And I was telling you, like, when Snoop was like, we gonna do something for the ladies. What DMX say? Yeah, something for the bitches. Like, he could not even say, or just leave bitch out. Let's spend something else for the ladies. He couldn't say that. Like, he is so inclined to automatically disrespect black women, but it was celebrated. And nobody crucified this man. Nobody checked him. Yeah. Nobody. The whole thing was celebrated. I enjoyed it. I'm a DMX fan. I'm a Snoop fan. I enjoyed the battle.
Yeah.
I really did. I enjoy people's artistry for what it is. Right. If I like you, I like you. If I fuck with it, I do. Yeah. And if I don't, I don't. It just wasn't my taste in music. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Right. Like, it is what it is, but it's just amazing the double standard, man. And women are coming at Cardi, and it's not just men.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
When I see the men do it, it's just really disgusting to me.
Yeah,
it's really disgusting.
Yeah.
How, you know, your stories have been accepted all throughout hip hop. You know, there was some backlash at Snoop Dogg at one time, you know, in the 90s and stuff like that. But really now in the present, it's none of that going on. They still making the same music, the same type of topics, subject matter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Still living their life, putting out their art, and that's a beautiful thing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love hip hop.
Right.
I love it. But allow women to tell their stories and just have a few seats. It's okay. Like the world, the sky is not gonna come crashing down. Like it's really alright. And they be like, oh, this is the disrespect. We moving in the wrong direction.
Right.
I've seen so many people say we're moving in the what direction have we been moving in?
Where are we going? Right.
You mean to tell me? Oh, come on.
Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B is unhinging.
Come on.
Yo, you're right. They number one, they showing their hand. Right, because for me, I see it and I hear, and it reminds me of growing up hearing Black excellence, right? In this whole, and listen, I
and
love.
Women didn't do this.
Yeah, it's just like, it's this sense of like, this almost like a mirage, this political mirage that we somewhere and something that we not, right?
Yes.
And so Black excellence to me, I grew up learning like, oh, that is what, now we use the term code switch. We didn't call it that, but to me that was fake it till you make it.
Yes.
So it's this fake persona of feeling and looking and it was pulling your confidence out of nowhere. And so, but the issue when I hear these comments, and they're coming from church folks. They're coming from people in respectability politics. They're coming from people like we better than that. But I think to reject, and this is the deep part, to reject a woman taking control of her own sexuality, right, in her own art, in her own body, in her own voice, in her own story, her own fucking way.
Yeah.
And not be like, we need more of that. I need to hear more Black women speak, because there's a story. There's a reason why they are speaking like that, right? There's a reason why it does get a response. And so I think there's a strategy and a story behind telling that tale and flipping it, right?
Yes.
And that's part of hip hop, right? Altering. And so no, Megan said, no, I got the fucking control.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that got you.
And
because
you don't have to like it, and I know you're not about to like it.
Because for so long you have these narratives that say men are in control and have the power of to abuse and handle and use however they want to. And so for me, I'm like, go girls, get it, because men need to pull up a chair and listen to that. And so the other thing it exposes, you got a lot of people listening to it. Yeah. So to have that many people upset by it's like, why y'all tuning into this? Yeah. Like, so you got people, one, we're dealing with like the amount that Pornhub talks about, you know, with just when it comes to the nation, how many people log on, how much they spend, you know. People probably see those numbers. But when we talk about porn, we talk about strip clubs, we talk about other parts that of our world where men go, right, to enjoy women in these kind of ways. You at the same time in some of these spaces you have women that have men that have issues with porn, addictions, going to clubs, doing it, you know, but then you turn around and party while you mad, right? That's right, that too.
And they be so mad. They be so mad at homosexuals and be on the DL.
Yo, come on.
Okay.
Come on. Mad as can be. So what we're seeing is cats is struggling internally, and you're not being honest. Like, yo,
not being honest.
I have and so I know what it was, because the reason is I had to go through that journey with Tamara. Yeah. I had to go through that journey with myself of realizing I participate in rape culture. Yeah. Heavily, right? In all kinds of degrees. Yeah. And so definitely feeling the pain of that, but knowing I'm raising a 15-year-old, right? Woman, the Black woman with another Black woman, my wife, and knowing that this is where we are in 2020. Yeah. Right? And this is the contradictions. Like, I love hip hop too, but it's like this right here, it's a problem. And so I think to the viewers, this is a moment to be like, we got to see this and kind of deal with our inconsistencies, deal with the double-mindedness, because our kids see it.
Yes.
Our kids see it, and
Yes.
we're going to keep adding this disformity to the next generation.
Yes.
And so with that, let's slide into the spiritual piece, which for Black folks is dangerous. Because you will lose relationships,
yes.
and people will never fuck with you again. Once you stop showing up for the Bible study or and this is I've been saved about 6-7 times, right? Like, not, having my journey in and out of church and really raising my family, believing it, loving what I've learned and how we've applied it. But for me, I want to understand your perspective on this journey, because I think in some ways you inherited Christianity too, right?
Yeah.
Just in Black community, when we talk about faith, freedom, and the fight, Christianity is in there. It's mixed in the struggle, the journey, the prayers, the saints, right? The freedom fighters. So we got to deal with it. But in 2020, our Black spaces look a lot different.
Yes.
And there's a lot more conversation about things that fall outside the norm, that fall outside the regular. And so there is some conversations that we need to have about this. So and I know this conversation about sexuality falls right into that, into the church, into so give us your perspective on that journey for yourself, where you are in your faith, your spirituality, and how and why that's affected you, how it has.
I grew up in church, and we started out Baptist, and then around, I think I was maybe 10 or somewhere around there, we joined a Pentecostal church. And this was a pivotal point for me. This church was on some other stuff. So my mother made me go to church 4 times a week, twice on Sunday, once on Wednesday, and once on Friday. We would get out of church on Friday nights. We would go at like 7:30, and we would get out at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And we would just church. Now, the 4 times a week, that doesn't even include like choir practice or excuse me, I used to belong to this youth Bible group where we kind of like did like little in-church tournaments against each other and stuff like that about memorizing the Bible and things. So we did things like that. So it was church like every day, and it left no room for me to do anything like extracurricular in my life. I never got to explore my artistry at all. Like, I like to think I was athletic growing up. I was a tomboy. I was out there playing football and basketball and stuff like that. And I really wanted to be on a team, but I never could because of church. Okay. So this is how I grew up. Nothing could never be explored about myself because of church. Church came first. And that led into an adult that didn't know anything of herself. It was like, when I said something to my mom one time about going to a homecoming game, it was the biggest deal ever. Like, my stepfather really had to say, no, I'm going to do this for her. She never goes to a game. I'm going to take her to the game. It was like a really big deal in the household that I wanted to go to a homecoming game. And it shouldn't have been. You know, young people are supposed to explore who they are, so they don't become adults that don't know who they are, and then you come out into a world, you know nothing of this world really, because you've been sheltered so much, you know. And it's like, so you're trying to learn a new way of life. You're trying to learn how to be an adult. You're trying to learn how to navigate, you know, different people that you probably didn't grow up around, or just so many different things. And you're also trying to figure out who you are. You've never explored yourself. You've never tried different things. You've never been allowed to try different things. It's just been like a life of shelter. So when I got away from that, I started studying other religions, and then I started studying what spirituality truly was. And I learned that God was in me, and not some separate entity that I had to pray to be able to connect with. Like God is already a part of you, like you are of the Creator type stuff. And I was like, whoa, wait, what are you talking about? Like, this is crazy, but it sounds like me, you know what I'm saying? So I just kept exploring and learning different things about myself, and just developing as a human, and just elevating. Like when I stepped into just being spiritual and non-religious is when I found elevation. Like I started feeling like now I'm elevating, now I'm evolving into a real person, not someone who's just being told what to do. I was in the military during this time, so there's a lot of still telling what you're going to do and how you're going to go about your day, and things like that. So I don't know, it was just spirituality for me just unfolded who I truly was as a person. It was amazing, just kind of like the beginning of it. I mean, it is every day. Just the development of my spirituality is amazing every day. But just learning that I was a spiritual being way before anything, you know what I'm saying? Way before being a physical being, I was a spiritual being, and this is who I really truly am. Oh man, it opened up a new world for me. It was absolutely amazing. Wow. I could connect with my gifts. Wow. I'm doing things now that I never thought I would ever do.
That's incredible.
Never. Yeah. I just started painting this year, just started learning how to sew. I'm never scared to try new things. I make money with everything that I do. It's not like I try something and I'm okay at it. You know what I'm saying? Like when I try something and I'm good at it, I know I can make a living with it, and it's the best thing ever. It helps me to keep homeschooling my children. Like truly stepping into my spiritual gifts is amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. It's where I should have always been. And I wish it would have been nurtured as a child. Right. I feel like I would truly be a beast right now. For real. Yeah,
Asia, you're speaking to the religion and the way that it's controlled who we are.
It is. The control took away who I was. Yes. It took away how I've always been a kind person. Right. I've always been a giving person. But learning that I'm also a spiritual person, I'm a spiritual person first, that changed everything. Now I'm just not kind, I'm just not loving. Like the things that I do, I have to go at it with a different mindset now. I have to understand that because I am truly of the Creator, I have to, I can't be out here slipping, you know what I'm saying? I can't be out here slipping and not being who I truly am, because that is, I feel like that's that stuff that God really don't like. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I made you an individual for a reason.
It almost kind of thinking about who we are being made or being created in this way that really speaks to this journey where we are born and we're having on this journey to find out who we are. And we experience institutions that, particularly for us, Black folks in America, weren't originally designed to bring us liberation, right? And so somewhere in there was a mechanism that, in spite of the fuckery around church and the dogmatic ways, there was evidence of hope, of freedom, of justice, all these things but that didn't mean that's where our story ended, or that's where it began. And so, again, this is kind of like looking back and looking forward, realizing that we were ripped from a space that very few people now even connect what spirituality looked like for Africans before they came here. And so I think, with my father being from Cote d'Ivoire, and so understanding those conversations over the years of divine presence, the Spirit, God speaking in everything, right? And then just me taking that personal journey to understand and lean into it. And it really has honestly felt like the more I decolonize my Christianity, the more I understand Him. Like the more I'm able to hear and connect with things that He really kept from me, because I wasn't at a place to even digest it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm half Iberian. Like my dad's
can't
from
be revealed.
Yeah, and so
You're not ready.
and my dad's 72, so I'm going through that right now of this journey. But I've been out of those institutions for almost 2 years, right? So for again, that we're all in that space of people that are inside of spaces, but I guess the beware and the caution, I think for me, even in this conversation, is like, man, there's so much restrictive where if you're not part of that particular religion, right, you can't even watching this right now, you can't even hear what we're saying because you're not allowed to. Because, you know what I'm saying? Because we so far out of bounds, we might cause you to backslide. This is dangerous grounds, you know what I'm saying? So, but to me, that's where the victory really is, because we're talking about who we were created to be. Yeah. Right? And so for me, again, love ends up being the test of truth. Absolutely. It is the test. And so again, I challenge, and I have to be challenged like that, but I know me and you both have experienced dealing in those Christian spaces and people dealing with us in ways that aren't loving. Oh, absolutely. But then they'll say, this is the Spirit of God. And you're like, that cannot be. It's impossible. And it always, if God is love, right?
I told somebody that the other day.
It's impossible.
Something about I asked, why is African spirituality not accepted in Christianity, or something around that nature, and we started having this discussion about religion and things, and I just said, I really feel like God would be so pleased if our religion was just love. Why does your religion have to be a certain group or a certain sect of people? And then if you're not in that, you're going straight to hell type stuff. Why does it gotta be? Why does it have to be like that? Right. When our Creator made us all unique individuals from the very beginning. From the very beginning. So that we can all be the same? That we can all be the same? That makes no spiritual sense whatsoever. Absolutely whatsoever to me. Right. And I don't knock people who have to, who need religion to live a life where they're focused and where they're more kind and more loving. Right. If that's what you need in order to live that type of life, I think that's what it's here for. It's a tool to get you through life. I think that's a beautiful thing, because you've identified what you need in order to be a good person. However, for me, that is not the case. And I don't see why that's so horrible. why it has to be so shunned, that I don't need religion in order to be an upstanding person, in order to be the best person that I can possibly be. I do not need religion. Right. And we really have to deal with the theology that says that you get to determine where someone's going to go in the afterlife. so again, if all of us were born, right, not knowing a limited, right, and we grow and learn and grow and learn. Even Jesus himself grew and learned and grew and learned. But so if that's the case, talking about where someone's going to be after this life, if no one has been after this life, that we got to deal with that, because it's illogical, and in a lot of ways it ends up being harmful, because we're just wishing curses on people. And so again, if we're talking about God who feeds cattle in the field, right, and is thinking about animals on mountains and the flowers in the grass and the seasons and all this stuff that's happening through the divine, right, in nature, and the crops that are fed to feed people, right? And all of that's happening. And we see kind of the characteristics of God in the world, in the stars and space, and we can understand that there. But then you have people that will claim the Spirit of God, but then really you do it by demonizing people, right? Demonizing this is in, this is out, you're a sheep, you're a goat. And this show, again, we're kind of having these conversations with people that fall on these lines, but I think the biggest thing I hear that I love from
your genius, what you just shared, is that, well, you don't have no problem. And see, that's the hook. You can tell because the people that really are pursuing the spirit of the divine and are leaning into spirituality say, I ain't got no problem. But I mean, on the flip side, the ones with the book are like, hey, if you don't believe this way, you don't repent this way, I do have a problem with you. Matter of fact,
it's a problem.
I'm not going to fucking eat with you. I'm not going to break bread with you. Right? I'm a disfellowship with you.
And that's supposed to be of God.
Is that community? Is that how you see community in Africa? What village moves like that, right?
Who does that?
So again, we gotta. That's not for us, right? I've always had a problem with that. I've always been confused by the part of disfellowshipping and rejecting and denying. Why I gotta repent? Why can't they just be? My homie's cool. He just smokes a blunt. He just cusses. He just, ain't nothing wrong with him. I've always had to have these arguments with people that can't come in church. I had a lot of homies that I can't fuck with that, bro. Like, they don't want me in there. And I shouldn't have been in there a lot of ways. I had to conform. I had to come and become someone that I'm not. And so for me, the veil is gone. I'm not doing that. I'm not putting on enough space to try to win these people. I ain't doing that no more. It's too detrimental. It's costing me too much. And so, again, hearing what you're saying.
The Holy Spirit is what it's costing you.
The cost, right? Like you're quenching your own spirit. You're quenching your own spirit because of how you're moving with people.
And you end up holding your own self back. Trying to conform. And we just said be authentic, right?
Yeah.
We're authenticity, man.
And so for years, I think that compromise, like you're saying, it's been something that the black community has had to just deal with. And because, well, you can't go out there because then you ain't saved or you ain't going to heaven. It's like, that conversation is changing. Because at one point that was just like, for me, I know I'm like really cognizant, like, no, I'm getting my most value outside of institutions now. So I'm just being built up to go back and then, like this Harriet Tubman, now on the flip side, going into institutions to kind of break it up, but I'm getting all of my value in relationships like yours with people that sit outside of those spaces. So again, it's a perception that we have to deal with that I think in some ways is destroying our unity.
We gotta let our guard down too. We don't want to listen to people. It's like if you listen, or either consider a different way, like your daggone ears gonna burn and fall off or something. Like, come on, like it's like just let your guard down. Be a little humble. Like I'm not trying to attack you or your faith. Or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I just.
And the truth is, we can do this together.
Don't want to be attacked. You know what I'm saying? But if you do, you do. It's on you. But I just rather you not and just. Take a chance, just listen for a second, maybe you can understand, but it's very hard to have people understand. So I don't even seek to have people understand me more.
Right. No, it's painful. I
don't seek to it's too much.
No, I get it.
I will seek to understand.
I get it.
I will seek to understand, but to be understood. I'm cool with not being understood.
And just
it's a battle I'm not about to fight.
No, and again, you shouldn't have to, but realizing for those that are listening and watching, realizing that if your faith is one that prides itself on dehumanizing others, to be able to justify, you have to deal with that. And I'm with you. I'm to the point where it's like there's certain debates I don't want to have, but I know when it comes to figuring out how do we unify and come together as black people, there needs to be some reckoning in dealing with ways with each other that's dehumanizing. That really comes from white supremacy. It comes from the slaveholder religion. And so I think, I think Christianity can be redeemed to a point of taking it back to Coptic Christians and Ethiopian Christians and thinking about practicing it in a way that's pre-slavery, but that's rarely the conversation. We're rarely talking about that. So, but for me, I see mostly a slaveholder form of Christianity that seeks to oppress our own people. It's dangerous. So in closing, and I think we're coming close on time, but I wanted to say I really appreciate this time. I really appreciate you sharing your genius. Could you give us a final word? And I wanted to have more time to go into mental health, but mental health in the ways that you feel like we're getting it, and then the ways that we're missing it. Can you yeah, take us into your thought process.
A final word,
Yeah.
I guess, to kind of, to just go and get it out there. I would say, as far as mental health goes, I would urge Black people to always first ask for help if you need help. Secondly, always do what's best for you. Black women do not have, please don't take issue with doing something for yourself, because going to get your nails done or going to get a wax or whatever, going to get your hair done, whatever you do is part of self-care, and that's part of your mental health as well. We have so much on our backs, it's ridiculous. We taking care of the husband, the kids, the job, the home, and Black women are the most disrespected people on the planet Earth. And we have fed this earth. We have literally fed this entire earth with our wounds. Don't ever feel some type of way or let somebody make you feel some type of way or selfish or anything like that for doing what you need to do for yourself. I don't care how small or how big it is, do what you need to do for yourself. Black men, cry. Cry sometimes. Good God. I don't care if you gotta do it by yourself, with your woman, with your mother.
Come on, sis.
If your mother did something that still pains you, you ain't never cried about it, it's fine. Go talk to her about it. And if you're starting to feel choked up, don't try to hold nothing back. Don't hold it back no more, because it's detrimental to your mental health, your emotional health, and that translates into your physical health. You wonder why cancer is so high, high blood pressure is so high in the Black community, because we have PTSD from things that we cannot speak about. And that stress is tearing our bodies down. It's tearing us down mentally, it's tearing us down physically, it's tearing us apart emotionally. We can't even connect with our spouse because we're so blocked. Get rid of that. And get your kids some counseling. For real. Yeah. For real. Yeah. Don't forget about the kids. Don't forget about the kids. These little kids were in a car, 5 kids in a car, 2 adults. One of the kids got shot in the head. This was 3 years ago. And rest in peace to that young man. He got shot. And I urged them parents at that time, please, those kids that survived and did not get shot, they lost something. They lost a lot that day. You have to get your kids counseling. This is hard. It's a hard life to just not be able to talk to somebody, not be able to let go, not be able to have somebody to just listen to you for whatever reason. Just listen to your kids, get them counseling if they need counseling, and nurture their gifts. I think we'll be in a whole bunch better place mentally. We have to do it for ourselves, because we can't keep depending on the government to help us out. We got to do it for ourselves. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Asia, thank you so much, folks. This show is about honoring each other's voices, listening and learning to love each other. This has been Let's Rap. Asia, thank you so much, sis, for taking the time with us.
Thank you.
Peace.